introduce Hedi from Anton, who I never knew before, except we were connected by a dear friend of mine who's somebody she does writing workshops with. And Hedi has probably thousands of stories because she's an immigration attorney. But she selected one focused on a family and especially a woman who came here from Mexico. So welcome, Hedi.
Good afternoon. Is it on? I primarily do asylum and removal defense. I've been doing this for about 30 years. It's my passion. And because of what I do, oftentimes these stories come home with me and beg to be told. The amount of pain and desperation that drives people here is sometimes bottomless, and the only way I've been able to find to deal with it is to write these stories. So that's why I joined a writing group and met Jane Underwood, who knew Elliot, who emailed me. If you will indulge me in just a few minutes, I'm going to read maybe 3 or 4 lines of a story I started. This is for Veronica. Many, many women come to see me in incredible circumstances. My mission is to get their story, and it's very, very, very difficult for women to tell the truth of what happens to them. They often feel it's not important and it doesn't matter, but it does. It matters so, so much. So by way of background, when I see someone, I look for clues. And I slowly get their story, because once I get to the bottom of it, I know how to defend them. So when my story is presented in immigration court, a judge is walking in my client's footsteps and not in mine. If I can just get around the corner, I'll be okay. That's all, just around the corner, down the side street where no one will see me. I'll slip out of sight like a rabbit down a hole. Puff! I'll be gone like a wisp of smoke, a cloud scuttling across the sky on a windy day. 1 minute I'm there, the next minute I'm not. I'm trapped. I'm frozen. Maybe if I lie completely still, it won't happen to me again. I've learned to stare up at the ceiling, at the spidery cracks, float through them, up to the tiles on the roof, and melt into the humid, hot nighttime sky. Most of the time, I don't feel him anymore. Stubby fingers, blunt, insistent, pushing at the softest spot of me. His breath still smells like stale beer and cigarettes. Sometimes he doesn't even bother to take off his sombrero. He digs in, each time a little bit deeper, but I'm not there. Just around the corner, he's coming after me, but I take off. I skim over gravel and scratchy cement so he won't get me. And I know right where I'm going, past Lupe's Bodega, El Pinto Bar, and Don Churo's taco stand. The stray dogs lift their heads, go after me, but I'm happy to have them. They're vicious, they can bite. I can't, I'm only 7. So Veronica, this is for you, Veronica, came to see me about 3 months ago with her husband. There is a law that provides people to stay here if they've been here at least 10 years, and they have a severely disabled U.S. citizen child. So Veronica and her husband came with their little boy who was born with an extra chromosome, severely disabled. Her husband did all the talking. She sat there, hunched over, holding her son, not saying much. So I asked them some questions, and I knew right away we had a big problem because the father, the husband, had a DUI, had an arrest for domestic battery that had been dismissed, and was obviously violent and a heavy drinker. He confessed to me his father had died of cirrhosis of the liver when he was only 6. But when people come to see you, they've generally had, at least in my office, maybe 6 years of education at the most. If they're women, they're lucky they've had 3. If they come from certain areas of Mexico, in particular Michoacan, that's like the Afghanistan of Mexico. So they don't have introspection, they don't understand. And my job is to guide them through this process and make sure they put into place what they need to do. So once they've sunk thousands of dollars into their case, Dad doesn't come home one night in a drunken rage, beat his wife, get arrested, and the whole case is gone and over with at that point. So with that little piece of information, I gave Father information on AA. I said, with all due respect, I think there's a problem here. You can't afford to pick up a DUI. Oh, no, that's not going to happen. You know, I've got it all under control. I can stop whenever I want. I said, good. But I'm charging you a lot of money here, and I will not take this case unless you're going to AA. And then I handed Veronica the information on Al-Anon. She'd never heard of a support group. She didn't know what to even think of it. Because Veronica's life is getting up every morning, putting on a uniform and going to McDonald's and flipping hamburgers. She's done this for 13 years. She had 3 years of education. She's got 3 children, all boys. The third one severely disabled. She's trapped in a violent and loveless marriage. She hates her life, but she gets up every day and she does this. I swear I thought I'd never see them again. And when they left, I said to myself, is this my job as a lawyer to tell people what to do? They were totally nonplussed by this information. They weren't expecting this from a lawyer ever. But if you're an immigration lawyer, it's these stories that you need to understand. How did people get from there to here? 2 months later, they came back. I was shocked. Veronica was smiling a little. And the dad said, you know what? I've been going to AA. I wasn't so sure, so I asked him what the address was. He knew it. He knew where it was. I asked her about Al-Anon. Dad kind of made a face, so I knew she'd been going. Yep, every Friday night. I said, okay, if you're committed to this, I'll do this for you. I want you to be able to stay. All they wanted was a work permit, a driver's license, a social security number, living in constant fear of removal. So my work is getting people's stories, and I started working with Veronica. And she would come every 3 weeks and stay an hour in my office, and we started talking about her life. After about 2 months, one day she was in my office, and we were just starting to talk about Mexico and Michoacan and what she'd gone through. I knew there was more there. I just didn't know what it was. She started to cry, and then she did more than cry. She started sobbing. She was heaving. She was shaking. She was trying to say something, but it couldn't come out. So I closed the door to my office. I got her some water. I sat down next to her. I put my hand around her shoulder, and I said, Veronica, it's okay. You can tell me. No, I've never told anybody. No one knows. Nobody. I know, but you know. And I need to know. So you can stay here. Turned out her grandfather started molesting her when she was 7 and didn't stop until she was 18 years old. This is common. I hear this all the time, but each time it's just as awful as the first. She said, I thought you'd blame me. I thought you'd think it was my fault. And I said, no, not at all. But you need to learn that this wasn't your fault. So, she's in therapy now. And when I think of her getting up in the morning and putting on her McDonald's uniform and taking care of her kids, I'm a little happier because I know she's getting help. And when we finished the interview that day, what she said to me was, "Here I am. That's where I was. This is how I got here. And I don't know how it will be tomorrow." And I said, "It'll be better, Veronica. It'll be better."